Hi chat. Today we're gonna be doing a little bit of something different. I'm doing some commentary over something I made. This is a mod that I have been cooking in the back burner since last summer. I'm currently have bot play on because I couldn't be fucked trying to play and talk at the same time. It sucks. I tried that last time, didn't work out. We're going right into it. Binary, interesting song. The first thing I did when I made it is I made it deceptively simple. The melody itself is not that complicated. I made sure to keep it. I made sure to keep my leads simple. Try to, at least. Right now, what I'm doing is I'm trying to get some momentum going so I can take it onto a new level. As you can tell with the patterns, I'm keeping them very similar, and that's to build that rhythm into your head a little bit more, for you to like kind of get the feel of the pace, really. Not trying to throw you around too much. You know, you get in the groove, and then I'm gonna. So now I've added a pulse to the song. Now this makes a huge difference. As you can tell, there's a lot more of a bounce to the song, and that kind of. You were already in the groove with my attempts at repeating the melody, and now that I really got you here, I can change it up a lot and make it very interesting. Add a little bit of a sustain there. But yeah, it's still doing a very similar pattern, which is important, as it's keeping you in that groove. You're not being thrown around too many ideas. You're familiar with it, you feel comfortable, you're going with it. And now I'm gonna build it up here to escalate to something even more crazy. Fun fact, the pattern that Boyfriend's doing, that was done a little bit early with coda in the last section to like get you familiar with that rhythm, which is also on beat with the pulse. After that little hard section, we're gonna pull it back a little bit, dial it down. We're gonna return to that pattern, emphasize it a little bit more. We're using a lot of effects here, like spotlights, cinema bars, zooming. That kind of gives you more immerse into it. You really feel like the song's happening. It's not just like an audio file. It is, but it doesn't feel like it. We're gonna bring back that original pattern. Start. That's what I want to do. Add some nice sustains in the background to carry it off to the end. Binary was a great song, I think. In retrospect, it was very simple and it was effective, I think, especially that little like pulse. That was a really good touch, I think.
3, 2, 1, go.
Now Octo starts off immediately dark. It starts off with a saw instead of a triangle wave, which is inherently a lot more agitated. We're gonna actually build a little bit some low pass hats in the background. That's slowly filling in the tension. Once again, we're going to develop a very simple pattern. Octo is going to be a lot more useful in this pattern. We'll see in a little bit. That little end measure, you're going to hear a lot in this song. So we're currently just building up, you know, a little bit of a groove here, get you familiar with it. And then like binary, we're going to drop it. We're going to bring in that release and then that pulse really in here now to really emphasize the song's momentum. We're going to use that last pattern to build your familiarity with this. I don't know what the proper word for it. We're building familiarity. We're building familiarity, right? Familiarity. Yeah, we're just keeping that pattern going, and then right when you think you're getting comfortable, we're gonna throw it around. It's always a good idea to have these little back and forths, these unique sections of the song. That's what really makes it memorable. Once again, we're using that last measure to emphasize the pattern a little bit. A little bit of a harder section. We're gonna zoom in here to really give the effect that it's escalating. Dial it back, and now we're gonna bring in some more instruments. That's gonna help build the vocals a little bit stronger. With the hay there. I think it's a little bit of an underrated tactic is adding instruments that mimic your vocals. When you do that, it really gives your vocals more space and makes them feel stronger. Again, I'm using that last measure to, go to stronger. I'm gonna bring it back at the chorus so you can get back in the groove of it. If you notice, a lot of the melody is very tied to the pulse of the song, right? A lot of VF's stronger hits are like on the pulse itself. Beep bop beep bop beep bo beep bop beep bop 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 bop. Also having a lot of spaces in the melody. An issue I see with a lot of mods is that they don't add enough space between their notes. It's actually the silence between your notes that really make your song interesting. I notice. This part is the exception, as it is the nice back and forth that's a little bit challenging, right? But especially in the chorus, that space between the notes, how the pattern doesn't start immediately. It has like a beat pause before actually playing the notes. That's what makes your song different. It makes it interesting. It's more than just a bunch of notes being played at once. It's an actual melody. It's a pattern. And then you start to remember that pattern more because of those spaces. Now that we know that we're familiar with that, the chorus, and we've kind of said what we needed to say, we're going to move on to a new section. We're going to breathe a little bit more life into it. Now, in retrospect, this pattern is very repetitive. I think I could have probably added more onto this, but I think it does okay for what it's meant to do. So if you notice, there are plenty of times where I just don't repeat what the other person's doing, or do that callback response thing. I don't think you have to. In fact, I find it more fun to do a little bit of disrespect and just change it up. VF is not copying Coda here at all, and Coda is not copying VF. They're just doing their own thing. But we're going to use that to build up to the next section. Get that pulse in there. Bring in that riser. Zoom it out. Sick. So Coda has some alt animations here to kind of emphasize the energy of, the new BPM and whatnot. A lot faster paced, so Coda is obviously going to be a lot more agitated. He's kind of getting madder and madder as things go on, but we'll see more of that later. To me, this is a nice diegetic way of making the song harder. We're still kind of taking some notes to the chorus, but we're obviously adding way more in between notes. With an animation there to keep you going. I'm gonna raise the key a little bit to make it even more intense. Once again, even if it is kind of spammy, we're keeping the same melody. We're hitting a lot of the chord notes of the old chorus, and that kind of makes it feel almost familiar, but not like too random. Hold it. Yeah. Now we're gonna dial it back and let the song ride out its final moments. We're gonna have BF started off here. Once again, there's not gonna be much copying going on here. We're just gonna kind of emphasize the mood. A little duet here though. Now we're gonna dial it back to the original melody. Always a good touch to do that. Kind of ties the song together a little bit better. Put it on Coda for a little bit dramatic effect. Using some of the lights here to, hone in on one of them. It kind of emphasizes the more dramatic part of the song. And the melody in the background. It's a strong finish. I think it was... At the time when I made Octo, I had no idea how to beat it. I was not as good at making songs yet. And then months later, I eventually got around to making this new song called Hexadecimal. I has to preload a little bit because Hexadecimal is a fat song. Here we go. I made Hexadecimal months later, it was like a completely different era from when I made Octo, so... The first thing I'm doing here is I'm really hammering it in. Instead of beginning with just one note, it's beginning with a whole chord. Ba, ba, ba. I'm keeping that rhythm into. It's a very important rhythm we're going to see later. Immediately what I'm trying to do here is I'm trying to sell you that this is going to be a big deal. The vocals have their mixing. The instruments are really spacey and got a lot of reverb on it. Once again, we're gonna build a very simple pattern here. Once again, using the pulse to our advantage. We're using some backup instruments to help coda feel a little bit more powerful. Jesus Christ. Feel a little bit more powerful here. Same with BF. We're gonna use a duet here to build it up. So this is where like the true hard part of the mod begins. I don't really like the spammy stuff. In hindsight, I wish I did make the chorus spam. I didn't know what I was doing. Still don't. I'm working on it. Things to learn. Once again, we're using some background instruments to actually make coda feel a little bit stronger. Same with BF. If we don't have those background instruments supporting the vocals, it sounds a lot weaker. This little section right here is like mini bridge. We're bringing back that old rhythm. Ba, 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 da. Add a little bit of filler in the background. BF it's just not going to copy her. Why not? Now we're going to actually get into the bridge before the next chorus. A lot more chill. We're getting into new melodies here. Put up with that. Changing up BF side a little bit, have a little pitch bend there, makes it a little bit fancier. Once again, we're still using some very simple melodies. We're not going overboard with it. Have this little arpeggio right here. I make some back instruments kind of support that. Give us a little bit of an offset to his notes. Now we're gonna tease this for a little bit. We'll see more of the clones later. One important thing I do want to point out though is that chord. I feel like a lot of mod makers, they don't use chords in their vocals. I don't know if they're just doing that to respect what's humanly possible or they just would rather not. But as it turns out, chords for BF and whatnot, they sound really cool. I wish more people did them. We're gonna have some sustains here to kind of change up a little bit. Not just them. Going back to this little mini bridge. That pattern from the start again. Having that gap in the melody there. That emphasizes a little bit more. I'm gonna dial it back now. Removing the pulse from it. When we remove the pulse from it, it kind of makes it feel a little bit more raw, a little bit more melodic in a way. It's just the hats, basically, that's kind of carrying the progression. It's not any different from the last bridge, except that it's more isolated for the singers here. Which kind of helps emphasize that the song is actually changing. It's not just on loop. I don't want to signal. Now the background little like synthy things are a lot more audible here. Now, at this point, you gotta be wondering, what the fuck's happening? What now? And it's silence. Slowly bring it back in. We're intentionally keeping it pretty dark here, so that you're more focused on the characters and the voices. There's not much happening in the instrumentals, so... We're using some background instruments to help supplement the voices a little bit. A little bit of a background piano. Now we're going to open the space up a lot more. We're going to bring in a little bit of a guitar arpeggio. We're bringing in the main melody in the background early. Now that you're more aware about the actual space, we're going to bring in the pulse. What's important here is that we're developing this melody gradually. This is building more more familiarity. There we go. With the actual listener. There's a lot of reverb and chorus in these instruments, and that's to emphasize the space that they're in, right? It feels very spacey. It makes it feel more real. A bit of vocal effects there to make it sound fancier. Pitch bend. I'm gonna write this melody home now. I really got to fix that lag spike. As the timer clicks down to 0, you lay back in your chair and you leave a sigh of relief, and then, oh fuck, never mind! This part is supposed to kick your ass, ear-wise. It's very loud, it's very punchy. The clock is now going negative. It's a total fake out. I knew that fully going into the song that I wanted to fake you out like several times. Now this is where the song kind of becomes bullshit, but you know, oh well. I think it's cool. We're burning some melodies here. Also, if you notice those hats, they're whipping around, like they're loud and they're whipping. Like they're literally whipping from ear to ear. I'm gonna escalate it, repeat it, force that shit up. This is where the true challenge reveals itself. So we're all gonna be doing chords here. That's where the clones come in. So each clone, they listen to their own notes. In this case, each boyfriend clone is listening to a specific note type, like boyfriend clone note 1, boyfriend clone note 2. And that's how they know when to sing. I basically coded my own clone module, which just makes, you know, clones. It took a while. As you can see, they can kind of go in and out when they need to. We're bringing back the bridge here too, but we're going to change it. This is still familiar to the listener at this point, so I'm not too worried about it. But then we drop a bomb on them. We're doing the second key change. Now we're adding sustains. This makes it feel a little bit more significant than just spam, right? It feels like an actual song at this point. It didn't already. This don't need effect where the clones are singing, but the main character is not. Crap out of that. Once you think you got it, and now it is full on hands, full 4 notes. It's gonna be very hard to hit these coming up. Now I did make the clone notes do less damage if you miss them because I recognize how unfair this part is. So even if you don't hit all the notes and you get a bunch of misses, you'll probably survive because they kind of start to die here. Let me drop it. And that hexadecimal. Most of the time I spent on it was just coding. Coding took a long part in terms of like the vignette, the clones. But yeah, that's versus Coda. Thanks for watching, I guess.